All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, February 22nd of 2019. I know it's hard to believe it is smoking by already, nearing the end of the second month. Important to keep leaning in on this. Just as a way of reiteration to stimulate the conversation, on yesterday's mastermind call, we continued our work in this whole concept of marketing and very core and foundational in anything and all things marketing is this concept of the unique selling proposition. Why you? You have to justify your existence, and then the offer that you make on top of that. And any great business, especially small businesses, blend those two concepts together, especially when they're delivered at the right time and in the right place. And so I think it's important to go back and reiterate that, but also in this context. And Paul, I know that you were in here early. Voltaire's in here. So a lot of the mastermind members who are really starting to get this, Paul, I'll probably start with you today because I want to get to that and I want to incorporate it in this big epiphany. Like you said, you were excited to talk to me on the one-on-one, but no reason to wait. What I really want people to hear is that epiphany, that it comes to, I guess, really having that recognition that in this pile of possibilities where we can spend our time, money, energy, effort, that there really is a real practical side to this business and that the quality of the conversation that happens really matters and that we need to be cognizant of that moment so that we arrive at it saying, hey, I'm unique and my mindset is right and why not me? That's number one. Number two is, hey, I'm here to help you and I'm going to empower you with my plans. And number three is, here's my offer to take it to the next level. So Paul, I think what I would like to do is I'm going to open up your mic here first. Let me just double check I have the right one. Is that it, Paul? We good there? Check.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you.
All right, good. All right. So I want you to help me with this preamble here today and just kind of kick in there a little bit so people hear. I thought Voltaire was right to get the testimonials of people in that moment in time where something has gone right or there's been epiphany, a course adjustment, whatever we might consider it. But we need to get that on the board. And that's what I want to do with you. So take a shot at explaining why are you excited and how does it relate to this last couple of conversations that we've been having privately and then in the mastermind. Tell me a little bit more publicly there where that epiphany is.
Okay, well, I don't want to make it more than it is and make it sound like, roses and whatever,
Right.
Wine and roses. The reality is that the epiphany being that, I was trying to just force myself as the sole ISA to make an enormous number of calls. And what I would find is a lot of the times at the end of the day is even when I'd have, the air quotes productive days, your 40 or 50 or 60 calls, that I was calling a lot of people and like some of them was just like, it was so disheartening because they were so old and hadn't been reached and this and that. And it really wasn't having, as many quality conversations as I wanted to have, even though I felt I was really quality voicemails in a lot of cases, and in all cases, and they're always really good voicemails. But so I really took it to heart when you said, look, how many people, you and I have different terms. I call it assign to, because that's how Patrick built it in Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
So those are prospects that have really indicated that they are serious about doing something. And I only had about 16. He said, well, you're never going to get to your 36 or 40, whatever it is, size for yourself with that many. You need to increase that number. So this week I've made way fewer calls per day. But like yesterday, I made 9. I texted you last night, I think.
Yeah. I
made 9 calls, which is weird. It's really nothing. But I had 4 really good quality conversations and set 2 appointments, another rebook of a listing appointment that got canceled because of the snow, and then a new buyer coming in from New York that's going to buy between 1 and 1.4 in cash.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just 2 out of the 4. I can't remember the other 2 I texted last night. But so I think that just really lays. I mean, I realized like I only need to do 36 transactions. Of course, I need to get my team involved and have them produce. But for me to make 36 transactions, I don't need to make 60 or 80 calls a day. I need to focus really, really hard on the people that are closest to bringing me a sale. And so that was kind of my epiphany.
All right, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Let's get that. So you heard what he just said. It's this concept of when you're looking at manufacturing relationships that yield a sale. That's what this business is, first of all. You're not looking, unless you're a builder also, you're not selling the listing per se and all of its goodies. You're actually dealing with just the manufacture of that relationship that yields the outcome. And so how you build that relationship is important. And I've always said this, when you're building a business, I always call it the conversion module. So your management brain kicks in. And this is for any business. If you're listening to this and you're not even in real estate yet or thinking about it, I think really, Paul, the thing is relationships are what yield the actual business. So the need is to always create. Look, I was talking to Pat Nadeau, onboarding him up in Kingston, Ontario, and he's a young guy working with Pierre, his father. And I said to him the same thing. I said, look, it's awesome that you did all this business with these people that you know, and you should triple down on that. When you do 20 out of 25 deals with people that you know, don't say it's lucky. Be intentional about that. Be intentional about everything. But the 5 that were harder to get that you had to go fight for, you also want to understand your intentionality in getting those, and the blend of the two makes for this good, well-balanced manufacturing plan. It's not either or. You're not either a referral agent or a guy that goes out and gets new people. You're both always, if you're a smart business person. You're always bringing in people that have no relationship to anybody that you know, and based on your unique selling proposition in the marketplace, right? I think that's important. So you build it, Paul, with this premise that in conversion of relationship, you're going to bring the disposition from lead to prospect. And this is one of the most important concepts that I think gets lost on salespeople, is that this act of prospecting, I think there's an ugly attachment to this, the cold calling thing that we think it is. And that's not right. The act of prospecting can be any genesis of any lead. It can be anywhere. You could be sitting in an open house. When they walk through the door, the disposition is lead. I know nothing about their motivation and timing until we begin to get into the process, right? So if you see everything moving along an assembly line left to right, because you build it that way, you bring them from a marketing module where you've decided on market, message, media, you bring them into lead, prospect, and client. So there's your 6 beats between marketing and conversion of relationship, right, Paul? You with me so far?
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Okay, so now the problem is if you build something left to right, you keep seeing that way. Whereas now that you built it, you almost have to take a step back, Paul, to see the beauty of the thing that you've created. And what you've been adjusting, and we can share transparently with people, what you've been adjusting is that you were pounding in leads for the sake of leads by the pound. And everybody was. And I talked about that this morning with Pat. And so from rookie to veteran, we all have this perception that we're supposed to go out and get this big batch of stuff and throw it onto this assembly line. Well, if you were up in the management room of an assembly line manufacturing plant and you were to look down on that assembly line, you'd say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. We're going to overwhelm the people who are sitting there waiting in the conversion module. How in the world can anybody who hasn't even thought about this, let alone built some process for relationship building, how can they jam all those people in there? Everything's spilling all over the floor. No wonder why top producers are selling on muscle, Paul, and scraping cream. They're not set up correctly from day one. Now, the issue is once you do fix it, what happens from there is it actually works. Meaning, when we are intentional about what we say to the person who's a lead disposition, we don't know their timing, their true motivation, all that stuff that is immutable. You need to determine that. That doesn't belong to any business or any guru. You must move people through a discussion where you determine that they can be prospected or not. And in my mind's eye, the disposition changing, it's a contact is a contact is a contact, all the way along the conversion module. But the minute they enter, they move from lead, we don't know timing and motivation, to prospect, we do. But that doesn't mean they become your prospect, okay? You have to make an offer to that lead that adds value and answers the question why they should go deeper with you. And that's where we go from this unique selling proposition of, look, we break industry norms because we follow a plan. So when we're working with you, Mr. Buyer, when we're working with you, Mr. Seller, what we're doing is we are working you through a planned approach so you don't get hurt. But I need to make you the offer next. I need to come to your home and walk you through the 7-step plan and talk about how the math can be positively affected by working the plan. I need to meet with you at a coffee shop, at my office, to talk about the buying process, to walk you through 6 steps to show you that, okay? But that message or that offer has to be met at the right time. Because if you can't match that offer with their timing, you can't prospect somebody up to being interested in continuing the discussion with you. Make sense, Paul? You with me?
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you, and I think that, just very briefly, I don't want to hijack the call. I think that, back in the day when Commissions Inc. was coming out, and Boomtown was really newer, a lot of us were like, we had like ourselves, plus we had like maybe a second or third ISA, and we're just pouring 300 leads into the system every month. And like, looking back, it was insane. And I'm so glad that I'm not doing that anymore, and that I'm just going to focus. I mean, you just don't need that many leads to turn into prospects to get 36 deals a year. You need to focus more on the ones that are closer.
That's bingo. And I think this, especially to top producers, and a warning to new folks, okay? This is the top producer kiss of death, is that people keep doing something that becomes an event. They scrape some of that cream. They work that, to a conclusion, and they have to start all over again. It's staggering to me. And it's like a game of musical chairs, because if that marketplace slows down, as you experienced in Seattle, a lot of the Canadians that are being coached by us and in this group, they need to heed that warning too. Sooner or later, an economy ebbs and it flows. And what happens is you find out how vulnerable you are to cream scraping because you didn't invest in relationship building. It gets exposed, right? So now let's go back to that assembly line where the disposition is changing from lead to prospect. It is okay and necessary to move people out of the database who are never going to have the context that they need, right? I always make the joke to the biblical reference, you're not going to raise Lazarus from the dead in your conversion module, and you should never build it that way. So stop hanging on to this huge bloated list of people and try to at least segment it by their activities and start at the most quality in the lead section if you're cleaning up. But more importantly, now you begin to work this conversion module backwards, because the priority is, what client do you have listed that needs more attention about the price, about conditioning, staging, a review of the marketing, a review of the communication from the agents that have already come here? All of that client work happens first and foremost, every day, every week. There is nobody more important in the development of relationship than your client. And ironically, I think a lot of agents that are transactional begin to accumulate this list of listings and they become disconnected from it, right? Not saying that's you, Paul. I'm not saying that's anybody. I'm just saying awareness. Because the level at which we can dive into that relationship at client, we're all scratching the surface. The level of service at client level is just, it's weak. And Laura and I are obsessed with diving into that relationship, being extremely highly communicative, trying new things, testing new things, and pushing the limits of how we can work together as a team with that client. Now you come back and you say, but now I have this concept of what feeds that clientele. If I'm scraping cream from lead and rushing to client, and that's my whole business model, I'm working with a big team in Ottawa right now, and was their main focus. It was like, how fast can we get appointments? It's this frenetic, bizarre thing. And it gets you stuck there, and nobody sees value of follow-up, which is where a deeper relationship is being built. I would actually, and I'm sure Laura would echo this, Paul, I would rather have people who at least need 90 days to 120 days with us before they're ready to take action. The reason is that's an appropriate amount of time to begin to indoctrinate them into a planned approach versus making this massive financial transaction on a whimsical decision-making way, right? You don't just walk into an open house and suddenly decide you're going to do it unless you're insane. Okay. I'm not saying people don't do it every day, but there's a planning process. Not that you and I couldn't accelerate it for them. So in that chunk of prospects, now we talked about clients, you move back and you say, who is inside of these next 30 to 60 days in my prospect pile that needs a lot more attention or needs some of my insights to make that decision to get into this next stage. And I start there next. So I have clients and prospects inside of 60 days who are likely to become my client, buyer, or seller. Then I go into longer term prospects, which in this case, I'm going to refine something that I've coached for a long time and try to keep people more focused. If you are developing too many prospects outside of readiness inside of 12 months, I think you've missed the foundational protection for your assembly line. In other words, in a perfect world, whatever marketing decisions you make, including lead generation sites, direct mail, open houses, whatever, past clients, all that stuff is fair to bring in the next prospect. But I would say discipline yourself to try to get most people who are inside of 12 months, unless there's a really good reason to extend it out longer. Because there's no bravado, just because systems have been built, including by me and shared with all of you, to go 36 months or longer. Don't do it, because you need cash flow. Your business needs cash flow. So do them inside of 12 months and segment them longer than 6 months, shorter than 6 months. And really a focus on 3 months, 3 months to 6 months. Because Paul, now you come to work, and in a time management way, it's not just about how many phone calls did I make, to whom, what dispositions. If you go look at this huge, massive pile of leads and you feel guilty, and then you tell yourself, I was busy today, I used a dialer, I jumped on this, and I had X number of calls that I dialed and I talked to these people. So what? If there's no income, results are king. If I did not have a conversation that led somebody to move up the ladder or out of my system, then I was not effective. Okay. I did not cause and affect something to happen. And I think we have to get rooted back there, Paul. But the delicious piece of this, sandwiched between this massive pile of leads and clients, is this group of prospects that you so correctly said. How many good prospects, meaning they're willing to accept our follow-up? They're getting properties via MLS from us. They're getting our buyer and seller courseware. They're getting our insights every time we follow up. How many of those prospects do you really need to be wildly successful? So it's not that you need this huge number of leads. You need a really good grouping of prospects whereby after taking care of your clients, you are absolutely over-servicing these people, building relationship, refining timing, and moving them up to the next offer. So the beat is from lead to prospect. Hey, I'd like to get you some information directly from MLS about sold property. So, Mr. Buyer, you can see what the money's buying. You can keep going on all these apps, but I want you to see what the money's buying, and I'll include for sales so that we ensure straight from the source you get them. Mrs. Seller, I'm going to send you constantly what sells around you in your price category. So even though you're 12 months out, you're going to stay up to date with what's selling, because when I come to your house to walk through the 7 points, that's what's going to affect you. So all of that first offer prospects them when they say, yes, I'm interested in that. Thank you. That would be helpful. Bang. You killed yourself to get them out of that quagmire of the world of leads into your special insiders club of prospects. Now, when you go a little bit further with them, you have a protected place where, because they said yes to you and they're in from you and they're accepting follow-up from you, relationships going builder, and these walls are building around you to protect you from getting, beaten up by competition. When all of a sudden you say, oh, they cheated on me. No, they did not. They did not cheat on you. You all dropped the ball on them, and they didn't know any better but to pursue their own interest, right? And I think that's what's wrong here, and I think it clicked in you, and you really have this down right. Is that a fair reassessment of this?
It's a very fair reassessment, and the one thing I'll add is that you can consider yourself one of the strongest callers and make 40, 80 calls a day, or throw it into a dialer and make 100 or 300. it really guts you and disheartens you when you make a ton of calls and you don't move the needle forward for a day or a week or 2 weeks or whatever at a time. It's really deflating. And so I just think that exactly what you said, just really trying to move the needle forward on those people that are going to affect your ability to put things in escrow as quickly as possible is a motivator to get up the next day and maybe not make 40 calls, maybe make 14 calls on the people that are going to make it happen for you quicker, I think helps.
Well, I think this concept of now business that every sales machine or every salesperson wants comes from this relationship. And look, Paul, there's an enormous amount of people who are not going to make some quick whimsical decision on this huge financial transaction to buy or sell a house inside like a couple of weeks of you talking to them. I'm like, what are we, delusional? Right? So then this, especially if they don't know us. Like, we expect that somehow we're supposed to pick up the phone, and because they came in on a website, they're going to all of a sudden trust us with this massive financial transaction. That's like somebody with $250,000 in cash going down to a local stock brokerage and going, yeah, you sound like a nice guy. Here, take my money and invest it for me. It's insane. So why does the real estate agent, especially the top producer, get so obsessed with that and not focus on a question? Am I really servicing these people the way they need to be and want to be early on so that I can win their trust, so that they'll trust me enough to just simply go deeper into the relationship? And that's what this whole concept of prospecting is. Now, as a prospect gets further down the line, the second offer. So the first one was, let me just get you the information. And then from time to time, I'll add my insights and I'll supplement it with my plan. Offer number one, when you're moving from lead to prospect, and they say yes. The next thing is, as you're calling them, it's your insight around what you're sending them that begins to coach them, that begins to build relationship. And then there's an appropriate time for offer number two. When can I come over to look at the property and give you advice on what to do and what not to do following this plan? Because you're getting closer. You're only 90 days away, and I suggest that you get it going now. So I'm happy to come over. Well, it's a little early. No, it's not early. It's now. So you can get a little bit more aggressive with that second beat to ask them to come over and coach them as they get closer, right? But so many agents are trying, Paul, so hard to just skim the, when can I come over? When can I come over? When can I come over? It's like, I don't know what's happening to people. Nobody in this group or agents wants to be sold like that. So why do we do it? Right? It's almost this desperation mentality. All right, Paul, I'm going to open up the lines and include everybody else here. Let me hear your thoughts on that so far. And anybody want to weigh in on that, especially any of my inside sales agents who are struggling on the phone to overcome that. A lot of you have done a lot of role play. We even did a full-blown seller presentation audio last week. Come in with any thoughts on that or any other direction you want to go in here. And I'm expecting my master.
Danny?
Yeah, go ahead, Gail.
Okay, so at our office, we have a saying, work harder on yourself than you do on your business. And what that means is exactly what you're talking about, is that we're going the extra mile. We're doing the things that are necessary to build the relationship with people because we're becoming better at who we are. And in return for that, the trust, of course, will be happening. But even when you have a bad market, you're not going to have to worry about it, because if you're going the extra mile, you're doing the things, you have your plan, and you're building relationships, it's going to happen for you. And we all did get lost in that lead generation thing where, you had to hire people just to take care of the leads. But I think we've all come back to the fact that knowing that you have clients or prospects that you're talking to, and sometimes it takes a while, that we have to build those relationships based on who we are, because who we are has no competition. So basically giving them things that they want, you're talking to them, you're letting them know that you care, and that's where the trust gets built, and they're not going to go to anyone else. I mean, I'm already preaching to the choir, but I like that.
But I like I like that we're reiterating it, and I think we need a call like this on the sales training where I think it's easy to get into the tactical and technical. And like you saw yesterday, when Voltaire so smartly asked for a lead to express it, it was interesting to see how we think. So here's Voltaire, one of the top producers in the group, and you could see immediately, well, what about this? What about this? And they were all medium questions, like upon which medium we should shoot. I really think we all, as top producers especially, and then all the, the agents we're helping, I think we have to come back to what you're saying. There's two beats in this whole thing. First of all, you have to understand what to do. You need, and that's where Cantu, here he is, a veteran in our group, right? He's a veteran for a long time,
Right.
super uber top producer. But the snapback effect was right back to this tactical skimming of the cream, and so dangerously so. And Paul will verify this in front of you. What was happening was he was jumping on this pile of leads and he was making these phone calls, and he wasn't subsequently moving them onto this special place, quote unquote, where there's just this, it's like an insider's Cantu club where there's only about 30 people, where Paul's giving this uber special attention called prospects, where he's making sure they're getting information from MLS. He's coaching them. He's finding out when they're ready. They were going right back into the massive pile of other calls, and there was no distinction. And that's how quickly somebody can go backwards and snap backwards into this, well, I didn't get what I needed, which was a now appointment or a now client, so just throw them over there, and missing this unbelievable, albeit the gold might still, be a little dirty, it's still gold that somebody was willing to give us a yes to an offer. I mean, that's like gold. I think salespeople are missing this. And so what Kennedy was saying in the book.
And Danny, the thing is, we created the educational and conversational emails. We also created prospects, whether they're 30 to 60 days, 60 to 90, 1 to 3 years. And if we tag them properly, it's going to bring them up. I mean, and then you have no excuse not to be contacting them. And so not only does the assembly line tell you what to do, it tells you when to do it. Right. And that's really important because, like most of us, we get caught up in everyday stuff. So I look at my schedule and top producer as well as Infusionsoft, and I make sure that I'm calling my prospects before I call somebody that I've been calling for 2 years that's never answered me. That's and right. Those people are gone.
That's
anyway.
Right. And Gail.
Danny.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Come on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, buddy. Go.
Works, yeah.
Go ahead, bud.
One thing that's going on here, listening to everybody, and one thing I learned a long time ago is you have no business dealing with people you don't know until you're done dealing with people that you do know.
Love it.
And so, like, if you're not effectively marketing to the guys that are, like, praising Mark Schwartz or the people that are out there,
that's right.
Singing your tune, man. Like, if somebody's looking to buy real estate, and my buddy hears them, then he's like, hey, you got to call my guy. I mean, if you're not training your guys, you got 40 or 50 guys and gals that are out there that you're working with. I mean, these are the meat of your business, right? Yeah. This is the consistency. 11 guys represent 70% of your business. We know that. Find your top 10 to 12 guys, man, and work them properly, effectively, strategize with them. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, I understand you got to take everything that's out there, man. You set up a lead generation tool. You have a system in place. You try and work them, but you got to go where the odds are best. And those are the people that know you, right, and love you. Right. And then you can go and show them the value there. And that's what separates you from everybody else. I think certainly going into the mix and fighting away, we can all roll our sleeves up and make it happen. But I think the consistency of this business, as you mentioned, has to do with the meat of your network, the guys and gals that are singing. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm trying to get in front of my guys. If I got 40 guys singing my name, everybody that they know, how can I not do 3-4 deals a month?
Well, that's right. Well, you're absolutely right. And it's very pragmatic like that. And it's interesting, though, Mark, with the snapback effect, even for people that know that already and get that, it's interesting. It's almost like a lot of us explain it away. And so anybody who's dabbled, and look, I'm a believer that everybody that's a good guru or teacher out there is right, but they're only a piece of the puzzle in its entirety. So let's say that the way you said it again was really rhythmic. You don't do business. Say it again. I want to hear that tagline the way you said it.
Well, I was just saying, you shouldn't be out there trying to do business or get business from people that you don't know when you haven't contacted
or attempted to get business from the people that you do know.
Correct.
So
And
we're all sitting here with a book of business that we're not paying attention to our past clients, our friends, our family. Right. We're assuming these guys are referring us business, and maybe we get lucky, man. But I don't want to get a phone call and say, man, I haven't called that guy in 5 years. I'm so lucky you called me. You know, those aren't the things that we're looking for at prayer, right? We want a system in place, make sure that we're programming the guys to be referring us business.
Well, and that, okay, so that goes back to the how-to that let me share with people. And you and I talked about this as we were onboarding you into this group, right? I think the biggest problem, whether it's the rookie agent from day one or it's the top producer, is what happens is salespeople move away from a higher level viewpoint of what's happening here. We get right down into the dirty. Who's going to be there today? And so, sure, can we talk about the open house tomorrow that you're going to run? Absolutely. Can we talk about the script you're going to use when you get back on the phone after this call? Absolutely. However, if you don't take a step back and say, what business are we really in? And what you're hinting at and really saying with Gail, we are in the relationship business, period. It just happens to be in the context of real estate. So because it's such a big context, because real estate average sale is such a massive financial piece of life, that we have to be careful to understand we're not asking ourselves the question deep enough, am I investing in any of these relationships enough? So like you said, if somebody's been in this business, let's speak to top producers first, and then I'm going to show you rookies like Pat Nadeau, who's 3 years into the business, how we don't want to explain away the existing relationships. So you come to the end of this and you say, well, wait a minute, I've been manufacturing closings, but did I ever realize that those people may or may not like me at that point in time? Was I manufacturing happy Griffins at the end of the day? Not everybody's perfectly happy, but did we go all in to ensure that they were the happiest they could be on closing day, moving day, period? Because from that standpoint, the minute they're birthed into that past client community, that is the most important piece of our books of business. Like I said, you build this manufacturing plant left to right, marketing module, conversion module, closing module, past client community. But like Mark's saying, you work it right to left. Who in my past client world have I not put a touch on at least quarterly by saying, I know you bought already or sold already recently, but it's my responsibility to answer how the market's doing like your stockbroker, because you're in that property or you bought it and you might be curious and you might want to come back. It's my responsibility to be there at least quarterly as your financial advisor. Now I move back into my closing process where these people are as frenetic and as upset and discombobulated as they'll ever be in the transaction. Are we really holding their hands, crossing T's, dotting I's? Then we finally get to clients who need the price adjustments, who need to make better offers, who need to negotiate a little bit more open-mindedly, whatever. Then we go to prospects and we say, are we feeding them? So regardless of the genesis of who comes into this, the whole concept is, well, first of all, like what you said, are we weighting it towards the people that are giving us the highest probability to develop relationship? If you're not, you're flat out delusionally wasting your time, right? So you definitely need to always feed your business and have it do business with people you don't know. I tell my brother this all the time. I said, look, Pat Nadeau's book is perfect. It's nice and chunky, and I just talked about it today. 3 years in the business, 24 years old, 25 deals up in Kingston, Ontario last year, right? Awesome. But as soon as we started to coach for the first time ever today, the first thing I told him was what Mark just said. Lean in on these 20. Don't tell me first that you think you should run to looking at the 5 leads and saying, I could have done better there. Sure, maybe. But you got 20. And what you said is that's almost lucky. We can never let those people, 20 out of 25 deals, and we feel it's lucky. It's unintentional. Therein lies the biggest problem that we have with our influential circle. Past clients being a subset of that, social media being a massive opportunity, especially for millennials in the business, to position themselves with those people they trust and say, I am the guy or the gal to go to when you're ready. Here's why. I'll tell you how the market is every month. So that's the narrative. I don't like to talk at you all in a sales training call, but I think what's missing is you're not getting back from your sales funnel manufacturing plant, whatever you want to call it. It's a business, and you're manufacturing relationships, and you never stop being responsible for them anywhere. And as a smart business person, you weight your energy, WEIGHT, you weight it towards the people who know, like, and trust you the best. These are not just sayings in the world of business, know, like, and trust, because they're like little quips. That's real. Do I know you? Do I even like you? Maybe I don't have to do business with you, but do I trust you? There's got to be some evolution in there that happens. Look, we've become so cognizant, Paul, of this conversion at Prospect. We just sent out some brownies, even though we hadn't, finalized the contract. And guy says, I love the brownies. They were fantastic. I'm sending over my signed contract today. So, but it was genuine. We're like thrilled that this guy's giving us his listing. There's a lot of choices out there. So the question is, how aware are we all the way from past client to closing to client to prospect? Leads, we can have that conversation every day of the week and we can lose ourselves to it. You got to look at the rest of it first before you arrive there. Then you'll be more intelligently seeking the answer to leads. Let me share this with you, though, that is out of one of Dan Kennedy's books, okay? And Gail's reading another version of this, and it's similar. But there's a very key important line here that's been bubbling up, and I wanted to deal with it on the sales training call because a lot of you have no clue on how to handle this. I know, and I'm talking to you top producers. I'm not talking to rookies. Listen to this. The right USP, or unique selling proposition, which he says is a justify your reason to exist type of thing, right, is coupled with the right offer. Listen to me now. Coupled with the right offer. The right USP coupled with the right offer. So a lot of you think you've lost your understanding of how these things come together. And it's very critical. I feel a huge burden to teach this because I'd be bad steward of the information if I wasn't. You're coupling what's unique, and Gail's already nailed it. I'm going to come back to you. You are the one thing that is massively unique, but I'll fill in some blanks for you. And you couple that with the right offer. Now, here's the key point. Especially, now, agents on the inside, listen to me. Lean in. Don't miss this. Especially at the right time and place. Okay? So in other words, coupling USP with the right offer, especially if you could do it at the right time and the right place. So everybody that's out there that's teaching somebody to get on the phone and pound away for the appointment, and then you're wondering why they're not getting them, why your no-show rate is no good, it's because you're not heeding this advice. As a business owner, as a manufacturing plant manager, whatever role you play, you're not heeding this advice. You're jamming an offer that you want. It's the right offer, but the wrong time, okay? Let that sink in. So let me pull together what unique proposition is. If you're on one of the, if you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, otherwise if you're just on the phone, I'll articulate this. Number one, I put up here the other day, what is unique about the service or product? I'm going to cheat that one for you and give you an answer. What's unique is you have a plan for that. If there's a buyer, you have 6 points. You're going to keep them through that plan. Right? If it's a seller, there's 7 points. You're going to keep them anchored in that plan. That's what makes your service unique. It sticks to a plan. Number two is, do you break any industry norms? Does your company, yes. Just the fact that you show up adhering to a plan says we don't do it on muscle like a lot of the industry. We stick to a plan. So yes, we're breaking industry norms. We're not just using tactics on what to say on a phone. We're actually calling up and saying, look, I know there's 17 people calling you, but I sent you something that it's a plan. I think it can help you. I know you had some context. I sent it. I'm going to hang up. I'm going to let you receive it amongst all the noise. You're going to see I'm the only one that did it. So are we breaking industry norms? Absolutely. By simply being brave enough and bold enough to understand a plan matters to people. Next, this is where Gail was right. This is how each of you, so people say to me, well, what, you just told the world to follow a plan and you told them what it was. Yes, because here's what makes it very unique if you both went in together with the same plan. Your personality and your story. Like, who are you? I get it that that's your plan. And I see 6 other Sherpas at the base of Mount Everest that can take me up. But you tell me your story and I'll get a feeling for your personality. I'll see if it's a match. that also makes this situation unique. Then next, now this is more about who your best customers are and what your enemy is. And when I say enemy, it doesn't mean some other agents. It means the marketplace. It means the challenge. It means anything you want it to mean. But just getting yourself rooted in this understanding of uniqueness is possible for the rookie and needs to be reestablished by the veteran, because that's what's missing. See, Paul will tell you the routine of making calls over and over, he's already said it 3 or 4 times on this call, by the way, can be demoralizing, because if you don't get the right message at the right time and everybody keeps saying, no, 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 after a while, you're banging your head against the ground. What are you saying? You're saying it's me. There's nothing unique about me. I suck. That's what happens. I hear it all the time as a coach, a therapist coach, right? Because that's what this ends up being. Stop doing it like that. Get rerouted in your service and what makes you unique. And those are plans. And then the way that you deliver the same plan that anybody in this group is delivering is the way you are, your personality. Okay. Now, that's the unique selling proposition. I'm going to flip this so I can cheat and talk on the phone. What we also went to was an offer. So, see, a lot of you are losing yourself in a house, like an open house or on the phone. The minute you begin to talk about what they want. And this is difficult because, unique selling propositions, you don't just, like Eugene asked me, what happens if they're short with you on the phone? What if they cut you off? Well, good. This is when scripting does help you. You can't just arrive at all this wonderful stuff you have for them, because that's not the way they're experiencing the world. They just got in a fight with their spouse, their partner, whomever it is. There's problems. The boss yelled at them, and you pick up the phone and you call them, or you arrive at an open house and they're in a bad, foul mood just looking at stuff because they're in a divorce. You don't know what their context is. So you just want to get your feet underneath you and say, how can I help you? Right? So when you're picking up the phone, hey, you opted into this or you asked for this. So I just want to let you know we sent it to you. We're giving it to you. It's already on the way. Okay? And just take a breath. Let people be human on the other side of that, because you just don't rush into an offer. You establish, here's who I am. Here's why I'm calling. Here's what I got for you, because I know you want it. It's all about them. That's a WIFM. All about them. No matter whether it's outside or inside sales, it's all about them. Now, if that's well accepted because you catch them at the right time, then you have the second opportunity to express follow-up. Say, hey, how come you were like, why? What's up? How come you're thinking about selling this? How come you're thinking about buying? If they give you that beat and it's appropriate, because they say, oh, geez, that would be helpful. Thanks. Yeah, he just was curious. How come you're making a move? It becomes very conversational to be able to dig into the why and the motivation for the moving. Because once they begin to express that, now you say, you know what? In my experience, talking to people on the phone for the first time, I find that if we also, here comes the offer, if we also upgrade your access to property information direct from the source on MLS, that will allow me to get you really rooted in the details of what you need to see, right? You need to see, if you're going to sell inside of 12 months, you need to see what's selling. And then from time to time, what I'll do is I'll call you, tell you how the market's doing in your neighborhood, and also tell you, to keep an eye on certain properties as good examples of what you'd be competing with. That's an offer, right? You're making an upgrade offer. And I get that a lot of you put this like, well, that's not any different from Zillow. Good, you're done. Quit the business then. If you don't know how to make enthusiastically an offer, then you're done. You're cooked. Your goose is cooked right there. So start selling yourself that, of course, an offer of upgrade through you is different than Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, whatever you're competing with. Of course it's different, because we just talked about it. Unique selling proposition is all about you. How do you deliver the properties differently? Well, what I'm going to do is, number one, make sure they come from the source, MLS. I don't know about syndication. These will come straight to your email. Two, I will follow up at a frequency that matches your timing, and I will add insight. I will tell you as an expert what that sold property means. Okay. I will tell you how that relates to staging, condition, pricing it right, all the things that are in my universal plan. I will give you that for free. My time, my insight, me. See, that's where selfishness, you have to believe in you. It's okay. It's okay to say, I'm valuable to you once you want to go to that next level. All right, let's hear some commentary about that, because that's pulling together your rerootedness in that I am important to them and I am capable. And number two, the offer. Let's get you technically set up better, because that's what a prospecting activity is all about. Paul, you want to weigh in on that?
You know, I really appreciate, you know, the all of this. It's just really reiterating kind of what's been flowing through my mind this last week, and I just feel like I'm like, what the hell was I doing, jumping on this giant pile of, I'll just call it garbage.
Yeah.
Whereas I could, you know, Voltaire, like, he wanted to slap me in the head. He's like, dude, are you calling your past clients? Your past clients love you. You have hundreds. And I'm like, no. And he's like, I'm trying to go out on 2 lunches a week with past clients, or sphere of influence, or whatever. I'm like, oh, wow, that's kind of amazing. And I'm thinking, I've got all this crap in my CRM, and yet I have 3 or 4 or 500 people that literally love me. That would, you know. So I have to focus. Yeah, I'm completely refocusing what I'm doing going forward.
Paul, what's going to make sense to you is what I've been saying for the past 6 years. We build an assembly line left to right, from marketing to conversion to closing to past clients, but we work it right to left, right? Because the importance is, when we manufactured that client who took them, when they were kind enough to allow us to take them all the way through the finish line, right? It happened. And so the irony is, our abandonments, like, think about it as childbirth, all right? Everybody goes through all that pain and suffering, ladies, right? All that to manufacture a child. And it's like us abandoning them at birth. Think about that. If you really understand the service business, I'm not talking about just real estate. You go through all this trouble, aggravation, expense, and you birth this child called the past client, and you abandon it immediately. It's definitely the definition of business insanity, right? So if we will just reconnect, and it's not like you're abandoning lead platforms or the ability to find somebody and bring them through the process. You're not doing that. You're not abandoning that. And I'm warning you all, don't abandon that. This is not an either or discussion. Schwartz said it the best. Until you've taken care of the people that have that kind of influence and want to support you, and it's not that big of a group, right? So you start there. It's actually easier, because the time it takes to do what everybody suggests on that side is actually a short amount of time. But we always say, but I've got to get through this pile of leads I bought, because we're guilty. This is why I warned everybody. Everybody who coupled themselves up with a mortgage broker, and everybody got into the volume business. I'm not saying money wasn't made, but I'm saying the waiting of the opportunity. How about getting all those past clients on the phone and saying, hey, where's your interest rate at, right? Because one of the other things that, you know, we got to always take a look at is, can we improve your financial position? Because the lender partner might be able to refi you for no money down and put you in a better situation. Do we ever think like that? Right? No, we can't wait to run to the front end to get people pre-qualified. So we just have everything so warped, because we don't slide back and get up above this business and see it as a complete manufacturing plant that births these babies. That makes sense? Yeah? No? Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why people start, chasing it when it's right in front of us, and but certainly we don't want to miss out on all that's out there, when in reality, if you have a plan and you know where you're trying to get to, and where the plateaus are, I mean, we have it right in front of us with the clients we already have. The book of business that we already have is lucrative enough to handle it properly. We do very well.
Well, Mark,
and I find it amazing that even myself shies away from that, trying to chase and get that volume in.
Well, here's the other thing too. A couple things. Number one, you, Gail, and I, and you'll get to know the folks in the mastermind. But that now that challenge of bringing in that agent, now you'll get the method to the madness here a little bit better. Like really refining that offer that clarifies it. So as these agents come in to your franchise, whether, if you get in those two lanes we talked about, even if one's a top producer versus, somebody who's not, you're getting into this whole thing about what we're talking about here. And you're saying, look, if you already have these folks, here's the guidance. Here's the Mark Plus, right? Remax plus Mark, as we talk about. Right? You got it. You got it. You got it. And look, I think what's amazing, one of the things that Voltaire, who's, an awesome producer, one of the things that he perked up on was what Lee Stilwell was able to achieve. So Stilwell was able to achieve this, tripling of this average sales price. And everybody says, well, not that Voltaire said this or anybody did, but everybody tends to think that there was a magic pill. When the truth is, between he and Gail, they have this unbelievable diligence and adherence to not just understand that there's a plan that's possible, but to constantly go back and micro adjust it, never abandoning it. And in a short amount of time, 36 months, a tripling of an average sale price, that's stunning to a lot of people, but not to me. Because to me, I find that rookie or veteran sticking to a plan in a modular way, you never really get thrown off. Paul, I can make that case, right? That when Patrick was with you, that even though there was a general sort of understanding of the plan, there wasn't necessarily a clarity as to what module was being worked on as clear as it needed to be. There wasn't enough get up in that glass room and look down upon it. So all of you that are in the mastermind that have your one-on-ones with me each week, you should be, before we meet, up in that glass room going, all right, I know I think it's this, but let me think about this for a second. Is that really the module where I'm screwed up? Is that really, am I getting enough agents? Am I getting enough sellers? And if I'm not, what are the methodologies I'm using? So it gets very easy when you have a plan to ask yourself better questions. That makes sense, Paul?
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the dangers for me was, or maybe for others, was just, sometimes you have somebody who's really integral to your business and they're a wonderful person, but then you kind of abdicate things and you kind of can get lost. You're like, oh, things are going okay. We got this IFA in the Philippines or Mexico City or even in-house, and it's not going okay because you're not involved enough. You're just thinking everything's okay, and then suddenly you see like, oh shit, I went from 900 to 750, 500 to blah blah blah. And I just think that you need to be so involved every day, and it sucks because everyone's like, well, I want to be able to step away. Well, okay, maybe some people can do that. I personally, when I stepped away, things have gone south. So I need to be massively involved. And for me, that means I need to be the IFA because I'm the best IFA I can ever hire.
Okay, well, hold on. Before I lose you down that trap, let me say this. What you all don't know yet, and that I think Gail, myself, and Lee in this group are probably the most addicted to at the moment, is what you all don't know is what Gail said to me yesterday. This is fun. Okay? Meaning managing it.
Well, if you don't like what you're doing.
Yeah, right.
Get it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, Mark. Gail said that to me out of exuberance yesterday. Once you start to manage it, what happens is you actually become addicted. Now, whether you're a rookie listening to this or a top producer, doesn't matter, a business owner. Paul, you're right. Right now, tactically, to make that machine there, I'll agree. But I won't agree for much longer than a short period of time. Because
my take is just listening to you right now, it feels like maybe you're just making everybody feel the same way you're explaining it to us, and maybe because of that, they're feeling they need you, and that's why when you walk in there, you feel like you're the one that needs to do it. And maybe that's why they don't have the confidence to step up, because you're presenting it as if you are the one that needs to get it done without realizing it subconsciously around your team. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well,
I don't have any ISAs right now, so I mean, I don't have any.
Well, not
right now. There's no one I could make feel whatever. I am. Okay. Well, I was talking about I work from home. Yeah.
No, I think.
Well, you know what?
Hang on, guys.
They'll try and close the deal.
Hang on, guys. Go ahead, Gail. I want to hear from you because you're the one that actually.
Well, you know what I think? I think we get stuck in the technician because we got hurt because whoever helped us wasn't doing the job we wanted. It isn't that we have to be there micromanaging, but we do have to be there on a daily basis to manage. They're just there to leverage us. They're not there to do the whole job for us. So that means that you have to tweak it. You know, there's things that you have to do to nurture it along the way so that they can create and become better too. Like Danny, you say so well, if you create it, whatever, you be part of it. That's why goals are so important, because we create those and it makes us feel good and we develop self-confidence and it makes us, be able to be a bigger version of ourselves. And it allows us to say, I know, let's say, there's somebody like Angela. I said, I know Angela, whatever you're doing, I'm very confident of it. I check in with her just to make sure that that's what we're doing. I write it out. And so I've learned from my mistakes because I've got to be the manager. If I don't, I'm going to be doing this all my life. And I don't want to. Right. I want to be able to manage people. I want to be able to help them. I want to be able to have them be successful. That's what I want.
Yeah.
You have to manage your team. You have to manage your systems. You absolutely set it up. You automate, and you have to stay on top of. I mean, you have to have some sort of oversight on it. And maybe I misunderstood on the ISA, but certainly anytime I've had anybody do anything for me, I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. I'm not looking for them to close the deal, only gain interest. And that's when I've stepped in. And anytime these guys want to take it one step further, is when you start to lose it. So I do agree that I have to have some sort of control on it. But I am the best, right? I'm the best one to get on the phone. I'm the best one to go sell homes. I'm the best one there. So now that I'm recruiting agents, it's taken a while to understand that, man, whether it's a buyer, seller, or an agent, it's still a prospect. We got to handle them the same way. So certainly if I'm great at buyers and sellers, I'm great at recruiting agents. So I had to be confident in what I had too. You've been helpful in that and trying to, understand what value I bring to the table as well. So I'm going to shut up and let you guys continue. But I'm enjoying the call.
You're great, Mark.
Yeah, don't worry. Gail and I love somebody who actually participates. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, no, we love it. No, look, let me summarize this because this is an awesome discussion. Paul, thank you for kicking it off and having the epiphany. Let me summarize what to do. Okay, I want everybody to leave this call, and this is all for you agents too. You see how quickly this can get intense. Let's call it that. Let me just say this. What I have learned, and I am your guide, and I feel totally responsible in a deep way to express what to do next, okay, and how to do it. You must, and it was kind of in that conversation, you must first take the TRC model that I basically used Michael Gerber's E-Myth as the backdrop. There are 3 personality types in each one of us, whether you're the owner or an agent working. You have to understand that there's that visionary or entrepreneur who has a goal and a vision for an independent business. That's number 1. Number 2, you must, the minute you admit that that's what you want, you must say, but somebody is responsible 24/7 for the management of this thing. Somebody is responsible 24/7 because even when you sleep, people's minds and actions are changing. And then lastly, it is the technical work of the soldiers that get the work done. Who writes the ad? Who gets the lead? Who calls the lead? Who meets the lead, right? Who does the technical work? So there's 3 people that you have to be, okay? But the key is even if you have to step in to do the tactical work yourself, there's no problem with that. As long as when you do it, you look at how you do it and you take it from your brain through your arm, through a pen or pencil and onto paper and say, when I did the tactical work of calling, I did X, Y, Z, and it worked. And I put that on a piece of paper. If you want to digitize it, you put it in a CRM or a process, wonderful. But what you ended up doing every time you did the tactical work and you put it on a checklist, you began to build a business that's run by a system and not your discretion. Let that sink in, sleep on that. And on the other side of next week, I will see you all again with that thought in mind. I will repeat it one more time, and then that's it for today. You must, when you are doing the tactical work of a business, you must look at practically and realistically what just worked. Where were you? Were you marketing? Were you converting? Were you closing? Were you following up with past clients? Get it out of your head, through your arm, onto a piece of paper, through a pencil or a pen that said, I did these things in this order. It just became the most rudimentary chisel and stone system that you can start with effectively. You do not need software to start. Now, if you have software, you could pick it up off of there and you could put it in digitally. Then every single time you recruit, you call, you present, you look against that system and you make small refinements. You don't start all over again. You make your small adjustments. And that's the process of building a business rather than doing it. All right. So there you go. Bravo, everybody. Thank you for participating today. Have an awesome weekend. Go out and practice this stuff and keep building a business. Stop doing business without doing that. Okay. Good work. Mark Schwartz, 5 gold stars for the new guy, Gail. How about the new guy who speaks up?
Great call.
Thank you
See you, everybody.
much, everybody.
All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great